Thank you, and then just tell me that, send me that proposal, and we'll start working. All right, thank you.
Meeting to order. It looks like one, actually, everyone is here. Chairman's report. We had the election of officers on Thursday. I am no longer the board president. I am back to being just a director. So the gavel was passed on to Tom Gray as president and to Deborah Scott as vice president. As to be on the board until December 3rd next year. Okay. We got the intent to serve for the restroom passed for the East Ranch. So that's good news. And we passed the amendment to the master park plan. I think that's what. And then we passed a resolution to move away deed restriction for the restroom. That's about it on that. On ad hoc subcommittee reports, do any of our current ad hoc committees have anything to report on? No.
Yeah, let me see here. I apologize.
This
The
is,
capital improvements.
yeah, have you met yet?
Yes, we met on November 27th and met with Jim Green and a number of the managers. Went over their CIP list and their priorities, and were asked to sort of review them and give feedback in the future on the CIP as far as public input. And we have another meeting. I'm not sure, you know, the day set up for, I believe in January. We have our next meeting set up in January. The idea is to provide all the feedback and have everything in Mr. Green's hands in time for the next round of financial, for the next financial system. Yeah.
January 8th.
January.
That's the CS, this meeting. No, I don't know.
Okay, it's in January. Sorry, I don't have it for the date. Yeah.
For the grants, the webinar is finally online. I spotted it this morning. So, I'm gonna do a screen record on the grant webinars and I'll send it to the two of you. Okay. Committee member communications. Any committee member may make an announcement, report briefly on his or her activities, or ask a question for clarification. Does anyone have anything they wish to report on?
I just want to make an announcement because I
I
can.
was waiting for you.
I mean, we just happened to get a little bit of good news, like $600,000 worth of good news.
That's a lot.
So very exciting. Want to thank the district, of course, for all their patience and participation in the process. We're not done yet, but it looks extremely good as it moves forward into the federal process. So
This is for the trail.
this is for the skate park.
Oh, for the skate.
So this would fully fund the project. We've got about 635 in the bank, and this is the other 600,000 coming from the grant or state grant being essentially funded by the federal government. So super exciting news. It also speaks to partnerships, quite frankly. It speaks to the ability to work together for the greater good. So I feel like that's a win, not only for our children, but for our community. So thank you.
Does that mean we can get going on construction? You can get going on construction?
Yeah, it's a great question. So the federal government does have some requirements we'll need to go through. And of course, Matthew will be, the general manager will be at the front line of that. I think it's going to be actually a great learning process also, because this is a different grant. I don't think the district has ever dealt with this particular branch of a grant before. I don't think so. So to answer the question, our hope is by the latter part of next year, we'll be able to go out to RFP. And then at that point, move forward with construction.
Very good.
Yeah.
Congrats.
Thank you. That's very good news. Anybody else? No? Okay.
I'll just mention that 2 weeks ago, I did attend the Association of California Water Agencies conference. Very interesting, but the main take-home message is we are far from the only agency that has water concerns in the state. Approximately all of them have concerns that are on a par, if not a whole lot more difficult there. Some of them are in very, very bad way. So Some rough news there, but fairly interesting.
I think San Simeon would be one of them.
Since they did not attend, I don't think they have the money to send people. Yes.
That's a complicated, yeah.
Okay, do we have a utilities manager report? Do you want to report, Mr. Arthur, on your department?
On my department, so, we've been working on our Coleman gear drive. We were gonna install our Coleman gear drive on clarifier number 2. We started into the project and we came up with a bunch of more problems. We got a temporary fix and an installation of the Coleman gear drive, but I now need to buy a new jaw clutch assembly, new drive chains, new drive chain tensioners, and we got a quote for over $30,000 for these parts, and they're a single supplier, so there's not much option in finding different items. We also had 2 blowers go into alarm and have problems with their rear bearings. So I had Pacific Mechanical out. They went in and replaced the 2 rear bearings. We ended up swapping out motor from B4 into B5 and to try and alleviate some problems that we were seeing in the motor bearings. And we sent that motor out to be rebuilt. But we're still having high temperature alarms. We are able to mitigate the problem by forcing air on the bearing and keeping it cool. But I can't run it without forcing air without it going out of temperature parameters. So we are kind of stymied by what's causing the problem. The other item that we are working on is I got the report from the water boards. We're going to be required to go to a new permit in April. So it's going to be the general permit. It's not going to be a specified permit. So I'm reviewing that right now and trying to get the paperwork together for our application into the new permit. It doesn't look like there's a lot of changes between the general permit and our permit, but there are some, and I'm going to be contacting several of the labs and a couple of other general managers just so I can go through and verify that our permit's not going to cause us any additional problems.
Okay, what's going on with the SST?
The SST program, we had, so what's happening on that in our last meeting, the big draw was we were talking about the problems with the blowers right now. And we are adding a new blower for that is going to take the place of these blowers. It's a much smaller blower. And the big question on that was, what's our backup when that one blower goes away? How do we implement the bigger blowers that we have to control air since we're dropping in? And the engineers are looking at that. It sounds like we're going to have to dump air so that we don't start overheating our blowers in that case. So probably the next big purchase that we should be looking at is a secondary smaller blower or equivalent blower to the one they're replacing. And that will alleviate that problem and give me a backup blower in case I have failures.
Okay. You have report on the water department?
Question, could I ask this question, Mr. Arthur there? The permit you referred to, that's NPDES discharge permit. Is that the one that you're referring to? You said that we have a permit that's going to a general permit. That's our
Yes.
discharge permit.
That's our waste just discharge.
Waste
curb.
discharge, okay, that's what I thought.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
And of course, regarding the new blower, it's smaller blowers, that means it has less capacity, less CFMs.
So in the plan, we have divided up between several blowers. So these blowers provide air to the aeration basin, the digesters, and to our grit chamber, and then smaller auxiliary air users. And what's gonna happen is the new blower is only gonna apply air to the aeration basin. And then we have two other smaller blowers that will provide air to our EQ tanks and our sludge tanks. So what's happening is with just the aeration basins on these blowers, there's not enough load and we're gonna start cycling the old blower if we have to put it in line. So that means we're gonna have to dump air somewhere.
Is this part of the SST plan to do it this way? Or was this a change?
I think this was a change from the original ones. Originally, we had two blowers for this. I think it's kind of a change to make everything work in the budget that we gave, or that we ended up
Yeah.
getting,
Yeah.
right? So it's something that is going to have to be addressed. There are workarounds, like I said, we fire up a bigger blower and just start dumping air out of out of some place so that we can.
Just use it as a backup, more or less.
Correct.
Right?
Correct.
And use the newer one as their primary source.
Correct.
The bigger, older ones will be redundancy.
Yes, but it should be on our next capital improvement plan to get a second blower that's equivalent to the new one that they're placing
So
in.
that'll have to go into the CIP.
Yes,
Yeah.
Mr. Me?
Just as of late, just real quick, I think. Last week, the water department had, kind of 2 weeks ago, we had a water line leak on Wall Street, right behind Lynn's Easiest Pie.
Oh,
And that was like the third time that line leaked, so we just decided last Wednesday to replace the entire water line in-house. Luckily, the water main was set up to where it was on one side of the road more, that favored our side, it's closer to the meter, so we didn't have to shut down the entire road in order to replace the whole line. And since we only cut about 4 square feet of the asphalted road out, we didn't have to get compaction testing or really deal with the county with any afterwards reports of the amount of road we interfered with. So we got that line completely replaced in-house with our water staff, and that following Thursday last week, we had a contractor on site on Manor Way to replace a 35-foot water line from the meter up to the driveway. Because I don't know how many years ago, maybe 7 years ago, don't quote me on that. A new water line was pulled under the driveway to the meter. So, and the problem we were having is water leaks in the road area on their private drive. We did put in about 5 patches in the past few years from the little tiny pinhole leaks popping up, but we believe that replacing the entire service up to the driveway now, the line is good. The contractor came back on Friday to pave, and cones were pulled on Sunday per the homeowner's request. We had an operator sign up for his D2 last week after 2 months of not hearing back from the water board. And just this morning, he was able to sign up for his T2, which will go next Thursday, I think. A side project I've been working on is lid inventory for the new AMI meters coming in. This was an expensive cost if we're going with all new lids, but we found the alternative solution to just drill holes through the lids we'll probably do that in-house. And just figuring out the exact number of lids we need to buy for sidewalk areas where the transmitter endpoints do need to be recessed for a flat walking surface.
So if you're drilling a hole in the old lids, there's an antenna or something that sticks out.
Yeah, it'll be a little bit over a flush mount,
Okay,
but in areas that are not tripping hazards, that shouldn't be an issue.
Kind of a disc dome shape, yeah, general dome.
Mhm.
I've seen those.
where's Manor Way?
It's up by Hillcrest.
It's on Oakhurst, on
Yeah.
Pine
Oh,
Knolls.
oh,
It's right next to the Pine Knolls tanks, if you know where that's at.
What's the material of that existing service? Is it,
HDPD,
oh, it's HTTP.
Yeah.
It's not sleeve, it's just right in
yeah.
direct
Yeah.
contact with air.
A lot of rocks.
Yeah.
Mr. Reaper, do you have an update for us
For the,
on anything? No, okay. Okay, does anybody have any questions for any of these gentlemen?
Yeah, I have a question, and I'm not too sure which one to direct it to, but I apologize up front. It has to do with the bathroom repair that's taking place right now, and the ones that are being closed. Is that Center Street?
Yes, and I asked David Aguirre about it. And he said he thought it was reopened again and it was a clogged line.
Okay.
Is that
so
correct?
The way it went out to the public, because the public really fired back,
I know.
and it almost sounded like it was gonna be closed for a long period of time, so I just want to make sure we're getting
Well,
ahead of
this,
it.
my understanding is this happened late Sunday, and until we got the guys in there this morning, we didn't know exactly what it was, but, Mr. Gary told me it was a clogged line and it was clogged for quite a long ways,
That they got it.
but that it was open now. Yes.
Only because it's the holidays, and
I
I
see.
mean, it is so busy in town,
Well,
and
you
to
can't
put the burden on the
control it.
merchants. Well, I
Yeah.
mean, I watched it happen in one of the stores I was in.
Yeah.
I mean, a group of tourists walked in, and one of the things they're asking for is where are the restrooms? So
Hmm.
it just starts getting laid on to the merchants. And
But unfortunately, we can't help it if the
No, no,
line
no.
gets clogged.
no, if something happens that it's,
Yeah.
just the way it went out, it sounded like it was gonna be like something more permanent that was being fixed. So that's great to hear.
Yeah,
Sounds like,
somebody
sounds like
actually asked if it could have waited till after New Year's.
I saw that comment. I did, and the answer would be no, because we need to fix it. So I got it. That
We
answer,
opened it
thank
as
you.
quickly as possible. Yeah. Did you get any information on that particular thing, the restroom? No.
no, I did not. Just saw the
You
post.
saw what I said, I'm sorry.
Yeah, someone messaged me. Okay, public comment. The members of the public may now address the committee on any item of interest within the jurisdiction of the committee, but not on this agenda today. Future agenda items can be suggested at this time, and in compliance with the Brown Act, where we cannot discuss or act on items not on the agenda. I don't see any hands up. I have 2 written comments. I have one from a Bryant Long, and this is regarding the swimming pool, and the swimming pool is not under the jurisdiction of the R&I committee. More appropriate that this comment be read at prose. And I have another one from Elizabeth Simons, same situation. This is regarding the swimming pool, and it's not under the jurisdiction of R&I. Needs to be read at prose. And just acknowledging that I did get these 2 written comments. Okay, consideration to approve the November 6th, I still don't see any hands here. Okay, consideration to approve the November 6th special meeting minutes. Anybody have any questions or corrections on the minutes from November 6th? No?
No, I move we approve.
A second.
Okay, a motion to approve by Mr. Webb and a second by Ms. Amadei. So we'll do a roll. Mr. Webb?
I'm sorry, Karen, you have a hand raised.
Oh, that just popped up. It wasn't a minute ago. Well, let me finish doing this and then I'll let them in. Ms. Amadei,
Hi.
Mr. Williams,
Aye.
Mr. Seaver,
Aye.
Mr. Meeks.
Aye.
Okay, motion passed 5 ayes.
Oh, we've got one.
You're the man who made the motion.
Yes,
Yes.
the motion maker.
assume I'd vote.
I think I said your name first and then Haley let me know there was a hand up.
Okay.
Okay. Go ahead. I'm sorry, I didn't see your hand up before I took the motion.
Good afternoon, Chair Dean and members of the committee. I have a minor correction to the minutes. This is on page 7 of the agenda package. Public comments on the concentrate disposal options. This was
Okay. I,
I was referring to the option 2, which was a zero liquid discharge. The sponsor of that proposal is Global Water Innovations, not Groundwater Innovations, as reported in the minutes. So a minor correction there. Global Water Innovations.
thank
That's
you.
it.
Okay, so we need to make another motion for the correction in the minutes.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes as corrected there.
Okay, we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay. We have a motion by Mr. Williams, a second by Ms. Amadei. So Mr. Williams,
Aye.
Ms. Amadei,
Aye.
Mr. Webb,
Aye.
Mr. Seaver,
Aye.
Mr. Meeks.
Aye.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Crosby. Okay. The next thing we're going to do is the consideration of the meeting dates for 2024. I wrote down what the dates were in here. Okay, so our meetings are normally the second Monday of the month at 2:00. Is everybody still okay with that timing? Okay, so let me run through the dates themselves and then you can let me know if anybody has any conflict with any of those dates. So January would be January 8th. Then we would have February 12th, March 11th, April 8th, May 13th, June 10th.
No, I am here. I'm sorry. I'm returning on May 10th, so I'll be here the 13th. Sorry about that.
Okay, that's
Afraid of
okay.
that. Yeah.
June 10th, July 8th, August 12th, September 9th, October 7th. There was a holiday on the second Monday of October, so we're doing it the first Monday of October, so that would be the 9th. Same situation in November. There's a holiday on the second Monday in November, so we will be doing it on November 4th, which is the first Monday in November. And then December 9th. And I will no longer be on the board on December 9th. And my term ends December 7th. So Mr. Seaver, since you're vice chair, you will probably get to lead that meeting.
Swell.
Okay. Okay, so is everyone all right with the dates then? Okay, so I need a motion to approve those meeting dates.
All motion to approve.
Okay, do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, motion by Ms. Amadei, second by Mr. Williams. Let's do a roll call. Ms. Amadei. Aye. Mr. Williams.
Aye.
Mr. Seaver.
Aye.
Mr. Webb.
Aye.
Mr. Meeks. Okay, motion passed. Okay, so now we're gonna discuss updating the ad hoc committees. So we have a climate policy committee, which was Ms. Amadei and Mr. Meeks. And that was to review the climate policies and climate action plans of other cities, special districts, research grants for climate action planning. The report was completed and it was submitted to the board on September 14th. When we get down a little bit farther, I'm going to go ahead and reactivate that committee because there is an opportunity to reapply for that grant after the first of the year. Okay. Now, we already have a grant committee, so do you want to join forces, the three of you?
I don't know.
Or do you want to keep it
I think
two
it's
separate things?
I think we keep it two separate things.
Okay,
I mean, unless, that's up to Jim.
well, you're looking at, you and Jim are
Yeah.
looking at
Other
grants
grants.
for infrastructure,
Mhm.
and this was grant for a climate.
Climate.
Climate action.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, so, let's go ahead and reactivate this with, Ms. Amadei and Mr. Meeks. So that you can, research the reapplication for that grant for the consultant.
What would be our best approach in regards to engaging this new grant writer? Because we obviously, the grant was started, it was sent and sent back, and we went through some of those revisions, so. What do you think our best approach is? Get with our general manager?
Yeah, get with the general manager and with Mr. Reaper, because Mr. Reaper is supposed to be working on this too, I think.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, working on enlisting the services of
Yeah.
Elijah.
I know, I can't get the name right. I wanna get the name right. It's a hard name, our grant writer.
I don't have it with me.
I just don't wanna miss the window, and I felt like the window was,
No, something.
It was, I think,
Merman.
thought it was April.
Elijah Merman.
she said I think she was very vague. She said like
Oh.
sometime in the first quarter
Of
of
next year.
24. So.
Oh, the grant writer for the climate grant.
yes,
Oh, okay.
our grant writer, the new district.
A
grant
grant
Oh,
writer,
okay.
Yeah.
Because that grant writer may need to fine tune this
I imagine Mr. McElhaney is probably
on the line.
but he is online.
We'll need to schedule some meetings
Yeah.
with the grant writers.
Do you know the grant writer?
So the one we're hiring is Elijah
Thank you.
Merman.
Merman. I
Merman,
always begin
that's
with
the
an
word.
M.
I was thinking, yeah, mermaid, but Merman.
Okay, yeah.
Okay, got it. We're very excited to at least have some access to this, Karen, so that's great. How do you want to handle that? Or do you want to reach out? I just don't want to lose time because I'm very concerned about the window, right?
Yeah, well, let's reach out to, I forget her name right now, but I've got it somewhere. We'll reach out to her. I'll send her an email and just ask her to keep us posted. There's been some changes on our side, so.
Okay.
Yeah, just let us know.
Let's get
what-
going again.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because you worked with Ray on this. didn't you?
Yeah, Ray,
Okay,
right.
So you'll be working with
Yeah,
Tristan and, okay.
Perfect.
So the brine waste disposal options committee. We submitted that report to the board on December 7th. You guys left before you had a chance to help me with that.
I noticed that, yeah.
Okay. So, the board decided to change the name of the report. Because in the report, in the introduction, you talked about brine being of a different makeup than concentrate. And since it was called concentrate through the whole rest of the report, the board decided to call it the WRF concentrate disposal option report. So just like let you know, there was a change in that. So that one's done until, let's see what happens with the zero liquid discharge. We may need to get a committee back together again for that. Okay, on the long-term water supply and water storage options report, I submitted that to the board on November 9th. And that was accepted, and that report also was part of the strategic plan, as well as the one I just talked about before then. So that one is done. I am going to start another ad hoc committee a little bit farther down here, but let's finish reviewing these. Okay, on November 6th, we formed two ad hoc committees. One was an infrastructure grant options committee, and that's Mr. Webb and Ms. Amadei, and we're going to continue on with that. And I'm going to send you, I sent you the PowerPoint presentations from the 3 webinars I attended to, and I'll send you the actual videos. And then the capital improvement project prioritization, that's ongoing. You guys all just reported on that. Okay, so recently we learned of some possibilities for supplemental water supply. Mr. William knows about when I reported from the CSDA conference that I went to. One of the special districts talked about a drone that could fly over and detect the difference of the soil underneath on whether it would hold water or not, whether it's an aquifer. So there's that. So there's a drone that can do that, a sled or a flyover option like that helicopter we saw that had the loop. So there's one part of it. And then I believe Mr. Webb told me about, there's some ranchers, riparian users upstream on Santa Rosa Creek that are diverting water from the creek off into like a little ponding area to put back into the creek to keep it from drying out too quickly. Is that how it went? Okay.
Supposed to work that way, yeah.
So we can look and have the ad hoc committee look into that. And then a member of the public, on the date that we gave this water supply report, talked about a new technology of solar hydro panels that would condense water from the air. And you put out a big field of panels that are like your solar panels, but actually their purpose is to condense water down and could have a significant amount. But it's very expensive. So maybe an ad hoc committee can look at that too. So if anybody want to be on this supplemental water supply ad hoc committee? I was thinking Mr. Williams.
I know, I'm looking at here.
I don't know why.
And I was thinking Mr. Webb,
Right.
who knows about the.
All right.
So does anybody else want to join in?
Yeah.
Okay. So that's,
That's an enthusiastic yes.
Yes.
Did I join?
Yes, you did.
Okay.
okay, so we already talked about. We already talked about the climate change thing that we're reactivating that particular committee so that you can reapply for the grant. The other thing is that we had put on hold a while back because we were waiting for Tyler Encode was an asset management committee. Do we still need that? Someone to do an inventory of assets?
Yeah, it was
for the
supposed to be Ray and
infrastructure.
I.
It was, yeah, it was supposed to be.
It just seemed overwhelming, like,
Okay, so do you
Yeah.
want to reactivate a committee to help with that? Or are we ready for that or? Do what's going
I've
on?
got a lot going on. I almost hesitant to kind of wait for Mr. Green
Okay, so
to see if he would want to.
oh, good
let's
call.
hold
work.
off on
Oh,
that.
yeah.
Very good call.
Okay,
I'll
so,
wait till after the capital improvement and the budget cycle has completed and then. maybe then.
okay, good. Okay, so, since it's discussion and consideration, I guess we need a vote. So does anyone want to make a motion to adopt the changes in the ad hoc committees and the formation of the new ad hoc committees that we just discussed?
I will make a motion.
Okay, second,
I'll second it.
okay, moved by Ms. Amaday and second by Mr. Webb, so a roll call. Ms. Amaday,
Aye.
Mr. Webb,
Aye.
Mr. Seaver,
Aye.
Mr. Williams.
Aye.
Mr. Lee.
Aye.
Do you want to join in on any of these ad hoc committees?
I thought I'm in one still,
I think you are.
the capital improvement.
That's right, you are. Well, that'll keep you busy for a while. Okay, so, do we have any public comment? Or we should the vote, but I forgot to ask for public comment. Do we have any public comment on the ad hoc committees? I don't see any hands raised. Okay, so we're supposed to receive an update on the advanced clean street fleet regulation.
Absolutely. Just share my screen. real quick.
What's the big hand on the screen? Oh, it disappeared.
Right. So here is a slide showing the how the regulations are going to target the entire sector. We, at the CSD, fall under the medium duty. All of our vehicles, with the exception of the back-on, would fall under growers greater than 6,000 pounds, the medium duty vehicles. This is the timeline for the process with PG&E. So at this point, we are at step 0. We haven't yet submitted our application to PG&E yet. But we have initiated contact with them to get the conversation started. I apologize, this slide is not the clearest. So the number of steps, the number of back and forth with PG&E to get this approved. So this is where we start to get to, you know, how much are we going to save under this, our initial program. And this, so our assumptions that we've put together have assumed that we're going to replace, they're going to add 4 6,000 pound F-150s. And again, this is just part of the initial, this is just to help build up the infrastructure as well as our fleet. Because if when we transition our heavier vehicles, our F-250s and greater, we're going to need somewhere to charge them. But at this point, there are not very many options when it comes to slightly heavier vehicles. So we were going to stick with a well-known automaker, something that the superintendents and the on-call operators, both of whom drive significant number of miles every day and every week, could use. And this would generate immediate savings. It would also allow us to get our first 4 charging ports available for when we start upgrading our heavier vehicles. So the green shows the savings. This is based on the assumptions. That is how much we are saving. That's just in fuel, gasoline, and that's assuming $3.60 per gallon. I think that's about what JB Dewar was charging us up until the most recent price spike. I don't know. I don't have a more recent number, but it's going to fluctuate. So we took kind of an average over the last couple of years. Here is a breakdown of costs. EV versus fossil fuel vehicle. Again, this is just for those 4 F-150s that mentioned earlier, using the same assumptions. The cost for an electric vehicle, this is a 10-year timeline. We're looking at $367,000 for the electric vehicles versus $500,000 for fossil fuel vehicles, with a savings of about $134,000 over 10 years. And this is everything: fuel, maintenance, everything. It includes the grants, the ones that where we're 100% sure we qualify for. There are additional ones that we work with the ad hoc committee to discover. PG&E mentioned a bunch of them on their website that for some reason their automatic calculator didn't include for one reason or another, but it mentioned that local government was a potential beneficiary of these grants. So I didn't include them in our final calculation. So this represents the most expensive case scenario. But it doesn't include any additional grants.
That totals for all 4 vehicles?
That is for all 4
Half-ton.
vehicles.
I'm assuming like a half-ton pickup,
Yeah, half-ton pickup.
half-ton capacity. Nothing to gross vehicle.
And here's savings in I'm showing a breakdown by usage.
You can put these charts. on the
Yes, I
website,
thought they
please.
were
Doing the same
included in the handout, but some of the handouts somehow got something else included in it. So I was just about to email Haley and have her post these immediately. So we'll do that as soon as I'm done with presentation. So again, here are the expected costs. So these 4 initial vehicles would be to replace superintendent trucks, on-call operator vehicles. They'd also be really nice for the times when we have to operate power tools out in the field. Right now, we have to bring a suitcase generator with us. And those have no pollution controls on them whatsoever, so it'd be nice to have the option to be able to plug your electric tool straight into the back of your truck. Rather than have to rely on a suitcase generator. And this goes for the electric sewer line camera as well, that we could run the sewer line camera from the truck. Without having to bring a generator with us. So under the cost of the vehicle themselves, it has the breakdown of the rebates that are available. And then the net cost of each vehicle. The installation costs were an estimate. Part of the next step would be going out for more solid proposals from both PG&E and electrical contractors and electrical designers for the cost of installation. And then the chargers is a pretty fixed cost. That's pretty we're pretty confident, and that's what they would cost. And so in the total for this initial run, we're looking at 190,000, which works out to about $47,500 per truck.
So when you say it replaces the superintendent trucks and the on-call operator trucks, those are the trucks that go home?
Correct.
Okay.
And those are the trucks that are driven the most. Cambria is pretty small, with the exception of when we're reading meters. We don't tend to drive more than 10 to 12 miles a day. I mean, occasionally we'll go back and forth across town. We try to avoid that, you know, in the interest of both time and gasoline.
So how long will each truck run? Will the truck run on a charge?
Yes, so I think these trucks have a 250-mile range. So that would be more than enough.
Okay, so
To
there wouldn't
make
have
it-
to be a charger at the other end of the.
No, that you could drive it home and then bring it back. And if you had to drive a couple times in like over a course of 24 hours, you could pick up another vehicle to drive home.
And you were pointing at me asking
I
about.
was
the
in,
range.
Mr. Williams has some real time,
Right,
some real
so
data.
We were hoping that.
So I have one of those trucks, and for example, Wednesday I have a meeting in Monterey. I'll get all the way to Monterey on one charge with no problem.
You have
I
enough
won't get to
150?
Monterey and back. I've got enough electric,
EV.
an EV, yeah. So I can get to Monterey on one charge. I can't get to Monterey and back on one charge. So that gives you an idea of the range that you'll have.
You went to Coachella Valley, like after that meeting that we had at the CIP meeting.
That
How
took,
did that go?
that took one charge halfway there. Yeah,
Halfway.
yeah.
And are you having any trouble finding a place to charge them?
No, not necessarily, actually, not really. The chargers that you will install, you will probably install a charger. And it will fill up your, it'll fill up the batteries overnight, basically. It'll be a slow charger, but it fills it up overnight.
But what about when you go somewhere?
Generally not, but like most electric vehicles, they come with a mapping tool. You say, this is where I want to go. And it will find all the chargers along your route that you can use, and it will suggest the fastest one that you should stop at.
Yeah.
And get a charge.
And when you
So
say fastest one, how long are you talking about?
it depends, it can be 15 or 20 minutes. It can be 30 or 40 minutes, depending on how far I have to go, and if the charger is a particularly fast one.
Okay. Okay,
Before we move on.
anybody else have questions?
Yeah, I have a couple questions when you're done.
So then in the last R9 meeting, when I was tasked with gathering more information about this, they were asked about penalties, and I was
Yep.
just looking up just now.
My question.
There are gonna be penalties for non-compliance, there are gonna be penalties for submitting false information. It does not state what they are. California Air Resources Board is not telling us what the penalties are, but
So Kristen, they're saying we need to have compliance on anything new that we purchase by 2027.
correct.
But they're not saying that if we don't do it, what they'll penalize us with.
Correct.
That's very interesting. That makes me want to push the envelope.
You want to get penalized.
There's good
see what
change.
happens.
Right.
Yeah.
Could change a few
Good
now and
change
then.
between now and then.
We never do that.
And again, the earlier we adopt this, the more there's gonna be free money available. Or grants and possibly low interest loans available for this. The longer we wait, the more that's gonna dry up and the
Yeah.
more we're gonna be on the hook. We're not only complying with the regulations, but coming up with the money to do so.
Right, that pool will shrink, that pool of money.
Highly competitive.
So how available are these, the inventory wise?
I think they're pretty available. It seems that the consumer adoption of EVs has slowed down somewhat.
Mhm.
So it's actually more available than we think, but it's still good to
And
jump on.
Ford's the only one that makes them? Or it's the ones you want because that's what we use as Fords.
We haven't looked at the other options. And I'm not sure what other options there are at this point.
I think GM makes.
Jim's planning on coming out with one this year. I don't think it's
Oh, it's
out
not
yet.
out?
It's not out yet, but I think it comes out 2024.
Yeah, the
Yeah,
Ford's
yeah, I
the
think the
ones I
Ford
see
just
the
kind of-
most.
Yeah.
Beat everybody to the punch on that one, and
Yeah.
so that's kind of where we based a lot of our assumptions on.
So you're looking at 47,500 for truck. What are our trucks that are not EVs cost?
So that number includes the cost of the installation of the charging infrastructure also. The truck itself is gonna be 36 after all the
So
repairs.
if you were to buy a truck that was not an electric vehicle.
What would it cost?
What was the cost on that?
I'd have to look at the purchase order for the two most recent, and I don't have
I
that.
think it'd be more than 36 though.
53,000 for F-250.
Oh, the 250 though.
That's for, yeah, but you're looking at
I don't know
F-150s,
about-
right?
Probably,
I think it's pretty comparable.
I would think it's pretty comparable. But an F-150, like with an IC would probably be somewhere in the area of 40 to 50,000, depending on what trim level you want.
Probably goes to 40 with the trim level we
Yeah.
are gonna buy.
Well, we know somebody who's got one.
What'd you pay for your car?
I am not telling you.
Borrow your truck.
All of a sudden, it's in the fleet. District.
Yeah, I've seen quite a few of them on the road. They're the ones with the funny looking headlights, yeah. Okay. Okay, does anybody else have any more questions?
That's a helpful start.
It is.
It's an aggressive ask as far as getting in compliance, so,
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
yeah.
I can't see if there's any hands up while this.
All right, let me
shares
stop
on
my
there.
share here.
Okay. We only have one member of the public who can ask a question. Crosby or Laura, do you have any questions on this report? I don't see any hands up.
Are they out there?
Oh, there's one.
No, oh, Mr. McElhaney.
I just wanted to say I was bouncing between a few different meetings, and so I know there were some questions earlier. And I'm here if we somehow get to a point where you want to ask me any questions about the grant writer or whatever it may be, not to bombard your agenda, but
That's okay. We just finished the update on the advanced clean fleet regulation. I think Ms. Amaday did have a question for you, so hang on a second.
Thank you. I just want to make sure that we are getting our arms around a deadline or what the date was on resubmitting that grant that we had started with last year on the climate control
Action plan?
action plan. Yeah, the acronym is slipping my mind right now.
It's a CAP, cap plan.
So we were gonna reach back out to that original, the assistance we were getting on the grant, but really need the deadline date because I feel like it was April of 2024. I don't know why that's sticking with me.
It was the first quarter she
Yeah.
thought. I don't think when last time we talked to her, there had not been any decisions made on the next round of funding for the next,
Right,
they didn't even know.
but there'd be a second pool
But
of money.
there would be a second pool of money, right? And,
yeah, so if you just wanna, if you wanna circle like an email with Tristan, myself, Haley, and whoever you were working with on that grant, and then we can circle the wagons and just try to get a game plan going. What we're trying to avoid, because our grant writer, is expensive in the terms of $150 an hour. So we're limiting access to the grant writer until we've got a focused mission and specific grants. And so we only have a little bit of budgeted, in the grand scheme of things, around $13,000. So we'll try to funnel everything through Tristan, myself, and Haley as we coordinate with the grant writer. And then that'll just hopefully not chew up those monies quickly. But yeah, if you give me the information and we can loop myself back into an email, we'll start chipping away at that.
Okay, perfect, thank you.
Thank you. Did anybody else have questions that we needed to ask him that? I don't think so. Okay, thank you. Okay, future agenda items. It'll be a short meeting.
Yes.
We're gonna get a report on the CIP, prioritization by the next R&I meeting, do you think?
I'm not sure the meeting, our next meeting is before then. Let me check here.
In January? Okay, so,
Sorry, January 8th, I thought I remember.
January 8th.
Yep. I'm listening, yeah, I had it in my head, January 8th.
Yeah, we are, the CIP ad hoc meeting is January 3rd, so you will get
Oh,
a
great,
report on that.
Technically,
Yes.
Okay,
great.
anything else? I think we're supposed to review our bylaws once a year.
Hmm.
Get back on. And then the rest of the ad hoc committees, if you just have any kind of an update at all.
Quick question, do we annually have to perform ethics training also? Is that coming up?
I think it's every 2 years.
It's every 2 years. Okay,
I'll double check on that,
not
but
that
I
I'm
think it's.
opposed to ethics, but just need to know. it's coming up.
Well, ethics and Brown Act.
And Brown Act, yeah,
I think it's every 2 years,
got it.
but I'll double check on that. You don't happen to remember, do you? No. Okay, I'll double check on it, but I do think it's every 2 years.
Okay.
And you guys all did Brown Act training, right? Okay,
Twice.
twice,
The first time and then after 2 years.
right, okay. Okay, anything else? I'm sure I'll have things. Okay. So, everybody want to adjourn?
Sounds good.
There's nothing else? It is 2:52. Thanks, everybody.
Hey, Darren.
Thank you.
She's only the president. Let's